Heyo, welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast, presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Welcome into Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I am Sean Anderson, the host of the CHGO White Sox Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show on Twitter at CHGO_White Sox. No Herb today, but we got our main man, Vinnie Duber, alongside me in studio today. We've been having a lot of fun in the past 10 minutes. We're going to keep it all under wraps, but man.
Now you just have to tell people.
No. It's a tease. You got to immediately tease people.
We're doing some research. How about that? We're
doing
some research, and we uncovered some fun research. We'll get that out to you at some point.
Vinny really wasn't hearing it with me talking about Adam Engels minus 128 weighted runs created plus in the last 6 minutes. We changed the subject beautifully. You can follow Vinnie Duber at Vinnie Duber on Twitter. He's the CHGO White Sox beat writer. Now, since we had this conversation, since I'm like, okay, he said writer, not reporter. Reporters do wars. I know it's interchangeable, but I keep now wanting to say reporter.
Yeah, I mean, my own personal theory on the subject has really thrown you completely out of whack.
Mm-hmm. And usually if I get thrown out of whack easily. Let's put it that way. Let's jump into our topics. We got a lot to talk about. Vinny posted a new article today on allchgo.com. What will happen when Tim Anderson returns from his rehab assignment in Charlotte? We'll see what happens with second base and the hot Danny Mendick. He's got the second highest weighted runs created plus in that 6-game span.
Is that his new nickname, by the way? Hot Danny Mendick?
Hot Danny Mendick. Make sure you just put that first name in there, though, because then it gets some weird search terms. Then we'll get into your mailbag questions, and we'll wrap it up previewing the Astros and White Sox series. But let's talk about the past 6 games and the offense. We've seen a consistent top 4 in the lineup, and it's been exciting to see for some fans. I know that people have been complaining about the lineup construction, and seeing more consistency has also led to a lot of runs, around 40, no, not 46 after,
59.
59
in the last
runs
7.
In the last 7 games. Absolutely ridiculous. And what's up, Josh? Josh is Vinny's also a married man.
Well, soon.
Yeah, soon. Yeah. Why are we bringing this up, Josh? I don't know. Congrats,
wishing good.
Congratulations.
Well wishes. I'm always for it.
And hello, Herb. Go enjoy the Cubs game. I don't know why you're here.
Herb.
I can't hear you, but you're probably sounding great. Probably because you're at the Cubs game, and they're probably getting destroyed. The loud sounds of Nomar Mazara's bat is ringing around Wrigley Field.
I did see the Cubs up 1-0 with a Morel home run.
Well, they were up 5-0 the other
score.
They were up 5-0 the other day. We know how that turned out.
I already bet the Padres money line after that.
I'm going to PointsBet right now. But let's talk about the top 4, because they've been performing very well. I want to do a little icebreaker. We haven't done a kind of solo podcast, not after a game or a pregame in a while.
This is like a lockout thing.
Right.
we haven't been doing icebreakers since the lockout ended.
And I think last time we did one of these, I had COVID and I was in my closet. So it was like months ago.
You don't want any of
since
that.
we did that. No, you don't want any of that. But you do want this. Let's look at the top 4 for the White Sox since they that is not it. That was Josh Harrison and Yoel Moncada. You're all good. Steve, we're having ESPN Steve having a little bit of difficulties. We put together, because I was looking for something here, because I don't think we talked a lot about AJ Pollock's really great series in Detroit. We talked a lot about Jose Abreu. We talked a lot about Yoel Moncada. We talked about a little bit about Luis Robert's struggles, but I do kind of want to put some numbers to this consistency. So the last 6 games, the top 4 hitters, Pollock is hitting 400. 455 and slugging 467. He's got 3 RBIs and weighted runs created plus. It's kind of like OPS plus. The MLB average is 100, but this kind of puts more emphasis on driving in runs and scoring runs, since the White Sox have been scoring so many runs in the past 7 games. That's why we're going to use that stat. 174, that's 75% better than the major league average. Andrew Vaughn, who's been batting second in the last 6 games, he's hitting 423 on base, 5. It looks like his college stats. On pace at 500%, slugging 462, 6 RBIs, and a weighted runs created plus of 184. Robert, 269, 367, 296. I mean, that's not great with the slugging, but I mean, on base percentage of 367 with his speed, you love to see that. 4 RBIs and a weighted runs created plus of 92. And then Jose Abreu hitting
looks like
423,
he's doing good, huh?
531, 769, 7 RBIs, and 268 weighted runs created plus. Jay Cutta had this stat. There's 3 players that have, I think, 5 RBIs and 5 walks in June. It's Yordan Alvarez, who the White Sox are going to see on Friday, Andrew Vaughn, and Jose Abreu. Only one player has 10 RBIs and 10 walks, and that's Jose Abreu in the month of June. So
only
he's been
3
real
players
good.
in June have walked 5 times and driven in 5 runs. That doesn't seem that difficult.
I didn't when I said it.
16 games?
I really did question it once I said it.
It had to be a little bit more specific than that.
Probably. Maybe.
Because I think Jose Abreu probably had 5 walks and 5 RBIs in the last series, didn't he?
Oh, I'm sorry. 20 hits.
Oh, yeah, that's more. Yeah.
So it's AL players
Okay.
with 20 hits. It's still from Jay Cutta, by the way, at Jay Cutta, CUDA on Twitter. AL players with 20-plus hits and 5-plus walks in June. Andrew Vaughn, Jose Abreu, Yordan Alvarez. 20-plus hits and 10-plus walks in June. Jose Abreu, only player in the MLB.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been insane.
Yeah, he's all right. And I mean, listen, again, guys, this is Jose Abreu. I mean, yeah, he was slumping bad to start the season, no doubt about it. It even seemed at times like it was deeper than some of the slumps that he's had in the past because he's done this for entire months of his career before. But this is a guy who always produces. He never doesn't produce except when he's hurt, which is rarely. You saw last year, he was banged up from day one and never had a respite from getting, hit with pitches or sliding in weird. Or you remember when the ump threw the bat at him and hit him, injured his leg? It doesn't matter. He played through all of that. You know what you're going to get from Jose Abreu. It is always exemplary. You're getting it again. Those numbers are going to even themselves right out, and he'll be right in the mix. Maybe not for an MVP again because an MVP is a pretty hard thing to win.
Right.
But up there with some of the best hitters in the American League, the most productive players in baseball. That's what he is. It's what he's always been. It should be no surprise that he's doing it again.
I do love our set design today, too, because I was going to point out, it is tough to win one, but he does have one because the AL MVP bobblehead is behind you.
Right behind me.
But it's completely behind you, and you cannot see him. And now the mic is
his arm
behind
a little bit.
Oh, my goodness. I'll just have to grab it.
He's there, though. And he did win the AL MVP in 2020.
There he is.
The White Sox don't need to win, the AL MVP. No one needs to win it for them to have a good season. But still, nice to see. And plus, a 268 weighted runs created plus is stupid. And we got a super chat from Herb Lawrence. I wonder who that is. $20 super chat for my Guardians flubs. Great show. Oh, so he's paying off the debt.
He's paying off his debt for constantly accidentally causing the Guardians the Indians, calling them that. So
I've just tried to avoid it and never bring it up
Cleveland.
so I don't
screw
owe
up.
any money. And you were defending Cleveland today.
I don't mind Cleveland.
Well, but I love your knowledge of commercials, apparently.
Yeah, this was a deep cut.
You citing the Joe Buck one with Tariq Screwball.
Well, yeah, of course, there's the Joe Buck Holiday Inn Screwball commercial.
And then busting out the D-Rose 2K commercial.
Yeah, that one, I almost feel like it's going to take the whole podcast to explain what the heck that was. But right after he won MVP, so when I was in college, he was in the commercial for the following year's video game. 2K, whatever year it was. Oh, and the commercial is the most bizarre setup in the world. It's Derrick Rose hosting some other basketball players. I don't remember which ones they were, but guys who were good at the time in his condo, just to hang out. And the other 3 guys are watching Michael Jordan highlights because I think the concept of the game that year was you could go back and play MJ's greatest moments or something.
Must have been 2K11 or something like that.
Or somewhere in there. And D Rose is doing chores while they're at his condo hanging out. And there's one where they're watching Michael Jordan hit the shot over Craig Elo and to beat the Cavs. And somebody says, "Oh man, another terrible moment for Cleveland" or something like that. And Derrick Rose goes, while he's icing a cake for some reason, goes, "Man, leave Cleveland alone." And so every time somebody, decides they want to bash Cleveland, I have to quote D Rose from his ridiculous cake icing commercial.
So I found it, 2K11.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's D Rose,
Yeah.
Rajon Rondo,
Sure.
plus
Future Bull.
plus more.
Yeah, there's other guys in there,
that's
too.
all.
Yeah.
It has not loaded yet. I cannot figure out who the other players are. But yeah, there's Michael Jordan 45 dunking.
Yeah.
There's him with strawberries.
See? He's dunking strawberries. He's doing
that
all
looks
sorts
like
of cooking.
Andre Iguodala.
There you go. And
I want to
is
say
Russell Westbrook. Is the other
Josh
one?
Smith.
Josh Smith.
And
man.
Russell Westbrook. There's Russ.
There you go.
So you got
Yeah.
Rajon Rondo, Russell Westbrook plus more.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook, Josh Smith, and Andre Iguodala.
There you go. Hanging out at D Rose's condo.
There you go. Just as they would,
As D Rose cooks
as he would,
and defends Cleveland.
our guy Connor Smith, Baja Blast Boy, saying Rockford's finest cheap trick. Cliff the Dream Polite used to walk up to Dream Police, 225 ERA plus.
That's phenomenal.
In 2005.
That's phenomenal.
Mercy.
Dream Police, Dream Polite. Oh, that's really, really good.
That's fantastic. And other Sean's asking, can Sean name a
Well,
treat
now
trick
you can
song?
because there's one on the screen.
Dream Police,
Yeah.
the theme song to that 70s show.
Yeah, but that's not the original though. So that's a cover of a Big Star song.
Oh, okay. I know them.
So
13.
Big Star came out with that one in the early 70s, and then Cheap Trick covered that song for that show.
They have the other one, too. Mommy's All Right.
Surrender.
Yeah, Surrender.
Yeah.
So
And of course,
there you go.
I Want You to Want Me. Of
There
course.
you go.
Yeah.
I want you to want me.
Right. That's how they.
Is
That's,
hello there, Cheap Trick?
yeah. Hello there. Yeah.
Even I
Southern
got one,
Girls is a good one. I like that one. Come On. That's a good one, too. Cheap Trick, man. They're an Illinois band.
Rockford's finest.
They're one of Illinois' greatest all-time rock bands.
Well, I mean, REO Speedwagon is a connection to Brother Rice, my high school alum. So I think I'll back them up as Chicago's finest band.
Yeah, maybe.
They had bigger hits.
In terms of bands, the city has not cranked out some as like other cities have. Chicago's pretty good. Band Chicago is okay.
How do you know they're from here?
How do you know? I actually watched the documentary on Terry Kath, who was Chicago's guitar player.
The guitar player got a documentary?
Yeah, it had to do with like his daughter made the documentary, and it was about finding his classic guitar that had become lost to history in some way. But yeah, it was pretty good actually. They're North Side. They're North Side guys.
Okay.
Chicago. I think they went to DePaul together.
Shout out to Terry Kath and his daughter. Josh Fiore saying Surrender was in Guitar Hero 2, a very fine game, a very fine establishment of video game dynasties there. Oh yeah, and the Chicago Transit
That's
Authority.
what Chicago is.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
So
sure.
there you go.
Well, I assumed because it was
Their
in all
cover
caps.
of Spencer Davis' group "I'm a Man" is one of my favorite songs. Legit, one of my favorite songs.
I love my favorite song from them is Saturday in the Park, but just messing up with the lyrics. I love when they're like men selling ice cream and just saying that every verse.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a
Sure.
fun one
That
to
goes.
just. It really gets
I
caught
like
in my head.
so they play that at Guaranteed Rate Field every Saturday, unsurprisingly. Probably do the same thing at Wrigley Field and 28 other ballparks across the country. But I just like changing 4th of July to whatever the date is.
Okay.
Saturday in the Park, I think it was the
June
25th of
16th.
April. Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That classic June
Yeah.
16th day. What are we doing now? Is the icebreaker still?
This is the CHGO White Sox podcast.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, and hey, we're having a tailgate. That will be Saturday at the park, but it's more
It will be
Wednesday.
Wednesday outside the park.
I think it was June 22nd.
Right, exactly.
There we go. We're really going to have a great cover of the song we found earlier. Man, that's going to be a real blast when we bust that out. Everyone below us in this building is going to love us. But yeah, the CHGO tailgate, it's official. June 22nd, 11:30 a.m. in Lot B. And you can go to allchgo.com. We have an Eventbrite URL there where you can buy tickets, and it will get you a game ticket and access into our tailgate. But even if you're just at the game, even if you're a season ticket holder, you already bought tickets, early on because you want to see Vladito and the Toronto Blue Jays take on the White Sox, you can still stop by. We'll be in Lot B. And, if you got CHGO merch, we obviously want to see you. We want to say hello, what's up, and see all that lovely merch in person. So if you want to come out, please attend June 22nd, 11:30 a.m. Lot B. And this is a perfect transition because around that time, Tim Anderson should be back in the lineup. And he just played yesterday down in Charlotte. It played at shortstop as well, so he should be back soon. The talk of the town from Rick Hahn was that he'd be back this upcoming homestand, which starts after a Sunday on Monday when the Blue Jays come to town. So what can we expect from Tim Anderson in the return?
Talk of the town, Pretenders. But yeah, Tim Anderson.
Band.
Tim Anderson will be coming back soon, and that's obviously going to be enormous for this White Sox team. It is impressive that they've been able to turn the offense around without him, considering he was the only guy, really, when he went down. Obviously, Abreu was on the rise, but when he went down, he was the only guy who had put together a phenomenal season to that point. Certainly, Andrew Vaughn deserves some credit in that regard as well. But this is the guy that makes everything go for them. You would think, as we saw last year, without him, nothing would be going. But that hasn't been the case, and so now he can come in, do his thing, and add to what is already going. You know, we mentioned it yesterday, and it's a good point to bring up again. We're talking about the White Sox offense getting fat on playing the Detroit Tigers. We might have a different opinion on this offense after this weekend, you know, going down and playing a first-place team in the Houston Astros. So things can change quickly during a baseball season, but for this very moment, obviously, the offense looks good. Tim Anderson is obviously a fantastic offensive player. Put those things together, and it should only make for offensive improvement. It's what comes elsewhere on the field, I think, that is going to be of most interest to people once TA gets back in the lineup.
Right. Before we go to the off-field and who could be affected, and, you know, Josh Fiore say Danny should be the second base until Sanchez is ready. That could be a possibility. But we talk about consistency being key there. It's definitely, you know, I know people might be upset like, oh, the consistency will be broken up, but it's definitely not a negative that Tim Anderson's joining the lineup. We kind of had this discussion yesterday, but TA slotting back in the leadoff position, that's where he deserves to be. I'd like to see AJ Pollock bat second. I'd like to see Andrew Vaughn probably bat third. Jose Abreu seems to be fine batting cleanup. And then you slot in Luis Roberts sixth, and if Yohan Moncada or fifth, and if Yohan Moncada's hitting like this, I have no problem seeing him at sixth. So it really does feel like this team is shaping up a bit. If you have Moncada at sixth, and you see how well AJ Pollock's hitting right now and Andrew Vaughn's hitting, it does feel like maybe this team can start really gelling together with the pieces that they do have. No Yasmani Grandal yet, but it just feels like we're getting healthier and healthier with at least one person coming off, and you know, we know the whole thing. If one person gets healthier, one person has to go. Apparently, that's the White Sox curse. But, you know, it's such a good sign to see Tim Anderson back.
I mean, listen, it was an offense that before the season started, we expected to be incredibly deep. You know what I mean? Talking about, you know, if everything went right, 1 through 9 being a lineup that could do damage in 1 through 9. Then the season started, and things obviously did not turn out that way. And there were times when it was 1 through 1 was a danger, or just 1 and 2, or 1, 2, and 3. There were so many holes in this lineup because of the way people were not performing. Now, all of a sudden, you look up, and you've got 1 through 4, 1 through 5, 1 through 6, and it's getting there. It's getting there. It's not all the way there yet. Obviously, there are some positions on the field that has still not produced very well. They're still waiting to get Eloy Jimenez back. I would bring him up as someone when you talk about how this lineup should stack up long term for the remainder of the season. He's someone who you got to remember, and you know, obviously, his production is not yet known for when he comes back from the IL, but maybe he goes into that 5 spot. And Luis Roberts batting 6th all of a sudden, and Yohan Moncada's batting 7th all of a sudden, and you're talking about this mind-blowingly deep lineup that you thought was going to be the case. Also to remember, subject to change.
Right.
If this is the turnaround of Yohan Moncada, and you know, time will tell if it is or not, maybe he ends up batting 2nd, where we all thought kind of he was going to be when the season started. And A.J. Pollock, who's got experience batting throughout a lineup, throughout a very deep lineup, and him being with the Dodgers the last couple seasons, can be that 6th or 7th guy and really extend things all the way down to the bottom of the order. So these are the kind of good problems that Rick Hahn and Tony La Russa have been begging to have since the season started, since before the season started. Now they're finally getting to a point, at least with what has happened in the last few days with the offense, where they can start to think about those good problems. And certainly it's got to be more fun to try to put together a lineup where you don't know where you're going to put all your productive players than what it was a few weeks ago, or heck, a week ago, right, when it was, where am I going to get any production from these guys? How do I fill up a lineup and get even 3 or 4 guys who can do some damage? And
it's so easy when at least you just have Tim Anderson there. I mean, like, it's just, hey, Tony doesn't even have to worry about that spot. It makes, you know, the 8 other spots, you know, his worry. The update on Tim Anderson, he had 3 singles down now in Charlotte, 2 in his first game, 1 in his last game. He's running okay, is the update, and Eloy has taken BP, but no other news outside of that. So he is now available to take or start that second rehab assignment, but he hasn't yet. Any rumblings or thoughts or ideas when that might start or when that could happen? Or is it just, wait and see with him?
I think the reason they stopped it when they did was, A, because time was about to run out on that rehab assignment, and he obviously wasn't going to be ready in those few days. But B, because they didn't know how long this pause was going to last. They obviously had a hope that it would be short, and maybe it will be relatively short, but they didn't know. They've got to get him ready. They've got to get him used to feeling the way his legs feel. And if they can get that done here in the next few days, he'll be back. If it takes a little bit longer, they have the within the rules ability to make it take a little longer. It's not great. You wish he would not have experienced something that delays his return, but it's what happened, and that's where they are right now.
Well, and you see how great A.J. Pollock's been recently, and you see, Yasmani Grandal, it felt like he was getting a little bit better and better the later this was going on, but it still felt like he needed to build up some strength, and now we see Yohan Moncada coming back. I do feel like they kind of been a little bit too quick to rush back some of these leg injuries, so if Eloy takes his time and he comes back up and looks like Eloy, especially like 2019 and 2020 Eloy, then I have no problem, because if he's up here and healthy, that's all the White Sox can ask for is not him coming up and still needing 15 games to get up to major league speed. So if they need to take his time with him, and the offense is currently fine without him, I don't see there's a rush to bring Eloy Jimenez up here. But we got to talk about second base. We haven't talked about the Danny Mendick, who's red hot. We haven't talked about Josh Harrison, who had a great game in Detroit yesterday, and then Leroy Garcia, who's on the team as well and very versatile. But the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that right now, you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making more than a $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. If you have any questions, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we will help you out. And why is it important to get a free CHGO membership? Because you can read Vinny's writing. If you want to read his thoughts on the Danny Mendick situation, he has a brand new article posted. It's a 7-minute read, and you could take your time, sit with Vinny, maybe drink a coffee, maybe drink some water, hydrate. That's really important, folks, in this heat, with Vinny's thoughts. Our CHGO scribe, he writes and pontificates about Danny Mendick as Steven shakes his head at the bots rolling into our chat here on YouTube. But PointsBet's your home for live in-play betting, and allchgo.com. Allchgo.com is your home for Vinnie Duber's writing. But PointsBet's your home for live in-play betting. It just got even better. Introducing PointsBet's newest feature, the live NBA same-game parlay. This could possibly be your final night to take advantage of this feature. For the first time ever, you could build the perfect live NBA same-game parlay only with PointsBet. When you're watching Game 6 tonight, you can combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. And if you want more, you can boost your live same-game parlays. Online sign-up is available in Illinois, so if you are not signed up to gamble in Illinois digitally or online or digitally, you can download the PointsBet app right now and register your account start to finish, all from your phone. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. And hey, when you're taking those 7 minutes to read Vinnie Duber's article, because you are a CHGO member, maybe you could cool down drinking some Owen. I have to tell you about Owen, which stands for Only What You Need. Owen is... what are you doing here, Steven?
Blocking the bots.
He had a little Queen playing. What's wrong with that? That's never a bad thing.
We're going to get flagged. Huh? We'll get flagged and taken down the internet. All of this hard hour of work just for a little Queen, just because Steven needed to hear that bicycle song. Which one's that?
Bicycle.
Oh, look at that. Owen is 100% plant-based protein shake that gives you nutrition that works hard as you. All of their products are free of artificial ingredients. They're allergen-friendly. There's no gluten or dairy, and they're easily digestible. Owen is very good cold as well, by the way. I pop mine in the fridge. They're very nice. They cool me down, and they're a snack. They're very filling, so if you're working out and you drink an Owen after, you're going to be putting a lot of good ingredients into your body, and you will feel full up after putting a lot of work in your body. Again, it works as hard as you do, and no one knows that better than quarterback of the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields, who follows a plant-based diet, and he told me about Owen, and now I'm telling you about Owen, and now Owen and CHGO have partnered to give you an awesome offer. You can get 20% off your first purchase at liveowen.com. That's LIVEOWYN.com with code CHGO20. You can join me and Justin Fields and everyone else here at CHGO and try Owen. It's only what you need. But Vinny talked about the article here. I love the way you started it off with saying, like, just emphasizing Danny Mendick has a 130 OPS plus, and I know you didn't like the small sample size, but Jose Abreu's got a weighted runs created plus of 268 in those last 6 games. Danny Mendick, the second leadoff hitter, 193. He's been consistently at the 9 hole for the past 7 games. He's been really important for the Sox in these past 7 games. He's been huge.
He's gotten the job done. And I mean, he's always been kind of a guy who's been able to prove that he's valuable, that he's useful for this team, with what he can do versatility-wise on the infield and, being able to spell some of the guys who need a day off from time to time. That's a valuable thing for a baseball team in a 162-game season. He's never really, though, been a guy who's really impressed with his bat. And I think that he's been able to do so here while Tim Anderson's been on the IL is very, very impressive. Guys, if this was a video game, TA comes back, Danny Mendick should be the starting second baseman, no doubt about it. But there's roster realities that occur in real life. There's guys that have a very positive effect in the clubhouse, guys who have contracts that are not very easy to move or you have to really make a tough decision in order to get rid of them. Danny Mendick, I think, has earned a shot at the everyday second baseman job, but the White Sox can keep their options open perhaps if he necessarily isn't that guy as soon as TA comes back from the injured list. And we'll talk about probably the different scenarios that can play out. But listen, deserves all the credit in the world for what he's done. Baseball can change in a heartbeat, and he could have 3 offers in Houston, and those numbers could look a lot different. Or he could keep hitting and really force the issue. So we'll see what happens by the time this weekend is over when we expect, I think, next homestand for TA to come back.
Yeah, before we keep talking about Danny Mendick, hot Danny Mendick, Stefan Bardo asked,
no wonder we're getting the bots.
Any word on Kopech? Wasn't he scheduled to toss a bullpen today? What are off days like for them? Because obviously they got to travel to Houston. So what's the off day like going from Detroit to Houston, and when could he get a bullpen in? Is it possible that he might be waiting until later tonight to throw one?
Well, you got to remember the starting pitchers are very much on a schedule, and so it could be that this is bullpen day, whether it's Michael Kopech who needs to show that he's ready to pitch this weekend, or any other pitcher who might just be in his regular routine, the 4 days in between starts. In the event, I would imagine that the ballpark is available for them to go to, if it is available. Sometimes the schedule doesn't work out that way. I don't know if Houston's playing today or not, but probably something where they're able to get in there and do some work if they need to. If they can't,
they're off today.
Yeah. So and there's that. And then I would imagine that the position players are the same way. You know what I mean? They need to lift some weights, or they need to do their running or something like that. They can find their way to the park to do it. I as you know, was not in Detroit. I don't know exactly the specifics there of what Michael's schedule was. Down to the day, but I know that they were hopeful that he would be able to pitch this weekend, and certainly he sounded like he was in a much better way than he was when he had to leave after 8 pitches last Sunday.
Well, and it's I love the conversation we had about Eloy in pregame. Learning to play with the injury was how you talked about the Rick Hahn conversation, how it was nuanced, and that was something he mentioned with Michael Kopech, was that this is a cyst that he's been dealing with. It just popped, and I know people were
gross.
Very gross. Having him not be able to put any pressure on that was a very concerning sight for people, having him spike the ball. But I think part of that too was it was the first inning, and he just got a great play off AJ Pollock. I don't know if that was necessarily. I think they were being cautious, just because anything with the leg on that is concerning. I think, especially with 6 days off, I think it is possible that they would roll him out here, just because he's been playing with this injury. He's been playing with this cyst before. So I think that this is something that they could probably take a chance on, because it's not a ligament damage. It's not a bruise. It's not anything to actually deal with the way his leg is constructed, I guess.
Well, and you throw the off day in there, which obviously was part of this schedule, and you've got the White Sox being able to do what they've talked about, right, which is get Michael Kopech some extra rest, get Michael Kopech some extra days, more than just the 4 days in between starts, because that's the way that they're going to be able to keep a guy who didn't, has never pitched a full season starting in the majors before, keep him fresh all the way through to the end of the year, when they're hoping that he's pitching in some of the biggest games of the season, be it in September, or if they're fortunate enough to make it into October. They want this guy who has shown when he's on, he can be as dominant as anybody, great game against the Yankees obviously comes to mind, that he can be a part of that rotation and he can pitch those kinds of games against those kind of teams when the season's on the line.
Absolutely, and this is a big type of game. I mean, it's the Astros, and I know that the White Sox try not to put too much pressure or too much emphasis on the opponent that they're playing because opponents can change. This isn't exactly the same Astros team you might face off in the postseason, but still, I mean, this is a road game in an important time of the season, and if you can go into Houston and win like this, I mean, you see just what hitting a home run for Yoán Moncada does against the Detroit Tigers. It's probably tough, I know, to just as a player to be like, oh, well, that is the second best team in the American League. And we did just go into their place and just, Michael Kopech, if he has a great game or whatever, I did just shove. I mean, that has to be a ton of confidence for a guy, especially in his first year starting. I mean, that was probably a ton of confidence for Lucas when he went down to Houston through that complete game shutout that we talked about yesterday. So it's an important game, but we'll talk about that more with the preview. Let's go back to Danny Mendick, because I do think that it's possible that they make the decision that he is their starting second baseman. But like you put it, he hasn't shown it consistently over, all the years that he's been in throughout, the major leagues. Like, last year, 71 games, 63 OPS plus, 33 games in 2020, 81 OPS plus. Like you said, yes, Danny Mendick has an OPS plus of 130 through 26 games, but it's only 26 games. So I think that the thing that I want to see with Mendick is if he continually is barreling up balls. I think one thing that he's done a great job of is go where the pitch is given. He's not really trying to pressure it to any field in that sort. He's done a great job of making sure when he's making contact, it's always with the barrel, and he's just guiding hits in. He smoked a homer yesterday, but a lot of the time it's just, I'm guiding it down the left field line. I'm guiding it down the right field line. It feels like he is much more, I know what I'm looking for with his approach in the plate. I know I'm looking for a certain type of pitch, and I know where to go with it with the bat. And it just seems like he's a learned baseball player at this point.
Or another great attribute, taking what they give you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you don't need
absolutely.
to hit it. You don't need to hit a double off the wall every time up.
Right.
Go ahead and poke a single through the infield. So you're still on base. You're still keeping the line moving for your guys. I think a couple things. Number one, this offense looks a lot different than it did a week ago. And if Danny Mendick was one of the only guys hitting, and you needed to keep digging yourself out of this hole offensively, that's a much better argument that he needs to be the everyday second baseman. Number two, and to finish that, now that they're doing well, you can have a bunch of guys in there. Maybe he doesn't need to be here because he's not the only guy driving the bus kind of thing. Number two, Larry Garcia's not going anywhere. He's got a 3-year contract. It would take a very, very strange, unexpected decision for him to be kicked off the team at this point.
Because he's not only a second baseman. I mean,
sure, right.
Like,
he's very useful. Yeah, exactly.
How does Tony view him? Like, I mean, the ability to play. He hasn't played a ton.
Anybody who watched my post-game press conference with Tony last year after the game-winning homer against the Red Sox knows how Tony feels about him. Knows that Tony's going to hate me if I call him a utility guy again. Would never do such a thing
because he's a second baseman.
No, he's an everyday player he's an everyday guy who just happens to play everywhere. Those are the words. Get that correct.
Hey, you've not forgotten them.
No, I have not. Just like, hey, after a while, I figured out you don't ask Tony how's it going.
That's true.
You don't do that. But yeah, Larry's not going anywhere because of that contract. Josh Harrison, on the other hand, has a 1-year contract and not a very expensive one at that. You would think that if it came time, just like the White Sox just did with Dallas Keuchel, they would be willing to do so with Josh Harrison for much less cost, right? Josh Harrison, of course, good guy in the clubhouse, very good guy in the clubhouse. There might not be as much of an urgency to get rid of that as fans might have to get rid of his underperforming bat, right? Just like you said, talked about Danny Mendick with what he's done in years past. Look at what Josh Harrison has done in years past. Just like the switch could flip down to Danny Mendick going back to what he's been in the past, the switch could flip up to Josh Harrison going back to what he's been in the past. Not out of the realm of possibility. You've also got to consider there are some guys down in the minor leagues who are making some noise. Right. Yolbert Sanchez and Lennon Sosa are both middle infielders. Rick Hahn said last week that, or the last time that the White Sox were in town, that that those two guys merit consideration to help the White Sox later in the year. So they keep hitting. There's another element to this whole second base thing. The main one for me, Danny Mendick can go down to the minor leagues, and you don't have to lose any of these guys. You can bring them back up whenever you want. If the Josh Harrison experiment lasts another few weeks and proves to be just as unsuccessful then as it is now, Danny Mendick can just come back. Again, there's also the very distinct possibility that the White Sox say, that's the guy. Right. And they say, we are trying to win games. We are trying to win the World Series. We are back of the Twins. We are under 500. We need to do everything we can to win a bunch of games right now. And if Danny Mendick is the guy that helps them do that, they could very well make that decision to get rid of Josh Harrison and keep Danny Mendick and say, Danny, you go play second base until your bat runs out of juice.
If Fred's saying Hahn is reluctant to dump Harrison because it's another admission of a bad signing,
he really doesn't care.
He doesn't.
He really
care.
doesn't care because here's the thing: as long as they win baseball games, he gets your credit.
Right.
And not that that's why he's doing it, but I'm just pointing out that Danny Mendick doing well is a win for Rick Hahn too. Well, it's not like it's only win or lose. Anything can go well. He does not care. Because, in fact, he was asked about, before they traded Craig Kimbrell, he was asked in spring training how much of, at the time, what was a very open discussion about trading Craig Kimbrell was trying to win a trade that you already lost. Somebody asked him that, and he just flat out was like, I don't care. That trade's over.
Right.
You know what I mean? That trade didn't work. And it's over, and now it's about going to try to win moving forward. Everything that's happened up to this point, he can't change.
Well, and I think it's pretty tough to be like he lost that trade because it's just seeing the wheels fall off Kimbrell. I don't think many people saw it coming, and it just happened.
But it's objective, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? The trade wasn't good because Craig Kimbrell didn't do well for the White Sox. It doesn't mean it was bad on the day it was made,
right? But
it ended up being bad because of what happened.
Every White Sox fan loved those moves. Like there was not a single person I saw, or it was very well received that Craig Kimbrell trade. It's also like it's not like Mick Madrigal and Cody Hoyer, doing very very well. It's not like a Fernando Tatis deal, right? I mean, like that trade just kind of stunk for both sides. And then with Harrison, I think the question that Yusuf is asked is fair. Like, do you really have the time to wait for Josh to pick it up?
I think that is a very fair question. I think that the answer to that question has changed over the last 7 days.
How do you view it? Because of Mendick?
I view it as the offense getting better.
Oh, okay.
Because I think without the offense getting better, the urgency to do anything to make the offense better is far greater. And again, the answer to that question could be different when we sit here on Monday.
Right.
The difference is the White Sox are now hitting. You can allow one of those struggling players in your lineup to take the time to get better because it's not going to make or break wins or losses for you. And it might. You know what I mean? There are games where they could only score one run and Josh Harrison strikes out with the bases loaded and that's the game. That's what happens in a baseball season. But with them scoring some runs all of a sudden, it's not pull every lever you can to get this thing going. It's Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens because they are starting to hit better, and that you would think would mean they would start winning more games.
The timeline's interesting though, just because we saw Rick Hahn be aggressive at the trade deadline last year, go out and get a second baseman in Cesar Hernandez. I do wonder what the timeline would be though, because at what point do you want second base realized? Because like you mentioned, Leary's not going anywhere. Leary is a second baseman. He's played, all of his innings, most of his innings this year at second base, but they view him as a guy who could play anywhere on any day. So he's not going anywhere. Harrison, like, Brendan says, Harrison's BABIP is around 200 and his career is around 300, like most players. He's putting balls in play and not striking out much. He's just getting really unlucky. I haven't liked his plate approach, but if I'm giving Mendick credit, in the last 3 games, Harrison did a great job of following the ball completely with his body and then letting his hands do the work and getting the barrel on the ball, and he got 3 hits. So maybe that is still in there, and especially seeing Mendick produce, maybe that is giving him like a, hey, I understand how this game works. I'm a 10-year vet. I just think that you have to make the question of, is this option in-house or do we have to go find it? And we haven't seen Lennon Sosa yet up at the major league level. We haven't seen Yolbert Sanchez up at the major league level. We've seen Danny Mendick up here. I think the fact that he has options is good. You could send him down, but are you going to test out any of that other depth? Or is it, hey, do we just wait and see if Harrison turns it around at this point, and then we go out and trade, at the deadline and go pick up some other vet who could possibly be failing like, Harrison or Cesar Hernandez end up doing?
It could play out that way. I certainly think that if you look at this White Sox roster and everybody gets healthy and everybody does what you're expecting them to do, the place that you would add is second base, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, because you're going to get Eloy back at some point, and then the corner outfield spots become crowded. Yasmani Grandal has played about half of his games, if not more, as the DH this year. So now you're talking about the DH spot being a little crowded. If Andrew Vaughn suddenly becomes your quote-unquote everyday DH because you got Eloy and Pollock in the corner outfield spots, they're going to add bullpen. Everybody always does. Their rotation looks pretty good right now with the 5 guys they've got in there. So where do you add? What's the big move to be made? It would seem to be go get a second baseman. But that doesn't mean that in the meantime, you shouldn't try to have your second baseman be good. And whether that means waiting to see if Josh Harrison can become the answer that you thought he was when you signed him in spring training, whether that means putting Danny Mendick there and seeing if that hot bat is not just a mirage, if that means calling up Yolbert Sanchez or Lennon Sosa for a cup of coffee and seeing what they can do at the big league level, I say, why not do all of it, right? I mean, why not do everything you can do to make it, see if it can work? That, I think, is what you have to do if you're trying to win the World Series. You owe it to the team. You owe it to it's your job description to try everything and make sure you have exhausted all avenues. We'll say that. I do not think that the way the team is currently constructed, Rick Hahn would say, nah, we're good at second base. We'll try all these guys once the deadline comes around.
Right.
I think he will, bare minimum, be looking for a significant upgrade. Maybe it doesn't happen, though. You know what I mean? And so right now, today, Danny Mendick looks like the best option, but with the way your roster is, the way that the offense is performing the last few days, I think you can afford to wait a little longer on a guy who might have a better long-term outlook in Harrison right now. I don't think that move needs to be made tomorrow or Monday, but we'll see.
Yeah.
When you're in the position that the White Sox are in the standings, when you're trying to achieve the goal that the White Sox are trying to achieve, be the best team in baseball, you have to make some aggressive decisions. They did that with Dallas Keuchel, and so I don't think I think that shows they wouldn't be afraid to do it with somebody else.
I just wonder if they're trying to balance aggression with overreacting, because Harrison's exit velocity is the highest in his career. His average exit velocity is the highest in his career. I have hated his approach. He's very aggressive, but maybe that will start working out at some point. You put enough balls in play, maybe they'll start falling, and maybe that's what the White Sox think will happen with Josh Harrison. Like you mentioned, a great clubhouse guy, so maybe things will start clicking for him, but I think if he doesn't start producing and you keep seeing the same at-bats by the end of June, then maybe, especially if they have to send Mendick down once TA comes up, maybe they get lucky or maybe unlucky. Jake Berger has to go on the IL with his hand injury. That could open up some more time to have Danny Mendick come up here and play, since Leary can play third base. But yeah, I just think that it's such a tricky balance here, because, you do have to figure out that spot before the trade deadline.
And you bring up an important point in Jake Berger. Who's to say that a few days off because of a hand injury hasn't done something to Jake Berger? You know what I mean? He was on a hot streak. Does it mean that he just picks up right where he left off?
Right.
Maybe he's got it all figured out and he does pick up where he left off. Maybe he has to spend some time getting back to normal, and it's like Sox got some decisions to make. Can't sit around and wait for Jake Berger to figure it out. Jake Berger's able to go down to the minors. Maybe that decision is made for them, and Danny Mendick gets to stick around and get his shot at second base.
Absolutely. Blank Name saying, I agree with Vinny, plenty of time to make a move, and they have the option too. I mean, that's the key thing with Mendick. A lot of people looked at DJ LeMahieu in the Cubs organization the same way they're looking at Mendick. That was a mistake by the Cubs. I don't know if I'm ready to say DJ LeMahieu will be Danny Mendick here, but one thing I did like, kind of talking about that approach, you look at the out-of-zone contact for him and zone contact for him. The out-of-zone contact is the highest it's ever been in his career, and I just think that he is truly looking for certain pitches, and I think he's done a great job of pitch recognition and tailoring his attributes of having a very quick bat speed to tailor the swings that he's getting. I think he's done a great job at that. If you enjoy CHGO, one way to help us continue to grow is to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. Not only are you going to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, like Vinnie Duber's fantastic writings at allchgo.com. If you want to read his article about Danny Mendick and what the White Sox will do at second base, that is a great or offer to take advantage of. Again, make a $50 or more first-time deposit with PointsBet. Use code CHGO, and you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks that web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from a CHGO locker. If you have any questions, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we will help you out. And in case you missed it, online sign-up is available in Illinois. You can download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. You'll be signing up with the fastest sportsbook easier than ever, so you can start living your bet life in seconds. Obviously, if you're looking to bet tonight, you got Game 6 of the NBA Finals. This is the perfect time to sign up and use PointsBet. What are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. And if you use that code, some of that web content is our CHGO Lounge, where you can ask us questions. It's Mailbag Thursday. Very classic. Everyone loves a mailbag on a Thursday.
It's the alliteration of mailbag and Thursday that I think really works.
It really do. They play well off each other. And let's continue the second base talk. Your old stomping grounds, NBC Sports Chicago, put out an article that had people mumbling. And Derek NIU asked, Jazz Chisholm is a popular trade speculation name. Price has to be steep. Is it worth it? I'll just answer that question the second half. Absolutely, it would be worth it to acquire Jazz Chisholm. It's just more of the question, can they?
No.
Yeah. Thank you.
Listen, a team like the Marlins, this is what they do, right? They get really good players that can really help out another team, and they use them to reload their organization with a ton of great talent. They tried to do it with Kristen Yelich. That didn't work out very well. They tried to do it with Giancarlo Stanton. They could maybe do it again with Jazz Chisholm. We'll see. But somebody's going to be able to pay more than the White Sox. This is you don't really view the trade deadline or as a price tag. This isn't a store where this is what we got to have for this, and you either can or can't meet it. It's a bidding war, right? And some other GM can call up and say, I'll give you this, this, and this. And the White Sox, who have been ranked as one of the worst farm systems in baseball, doesn't mean the cupboard's completely bare, but maybe you don't have a lot of those top guys. It's going to be very difficult to compete with a lot of the other offers that other GMs are going to be able to put together.
Yeah, a second baseman that's hitting 13 home runs, 7 doubles, 4 triples, who's 24 years old. I understand there's clubhouse problems with him. He's 24 years old and the best damn player on the team. I mean, it's probably tough to look at, Avi Garcia and really have a guy like Jose Abreu for the White Sox players to have a set example. I think if you put the Jazz Chisholm on the White Sox, that guy would be fine in the clubhouse. I think that would be a perfect scenario for him. And even Kim Ng, the GM of the Marlins, said he's great. So I don't think there's an actual issue with Jazz Chisholm and the Marlins. But you bring up a great point. I mean, we saw it with Stanton, we saw it with Yelich, we saw it with Ozuna, we saw it anytime they can. They love to trade their stars away. So it's definitely a possibility that they might trade some of those players away. All right, let's go to SoxBomb72. She asked if by the All-Star break we have Eloy, Yaz, TA, and Hendricks back and healthy, can we realistically win the Central in spite of being managed by TLR? I feel like this one might be another easy question for you.
Yes, because the question is, can they? And yes, they can. We'll see if they do. But that's been part of the story all year, is getting healthy, right? And I think that's a reason that it's been believable that they could turn this thing around, is because, they don't have Eloy. That Lance Lynn for the longest time was out. Moncada missed a month. TA on the IL now. You got Hendricks on the IL now. Wait till they get all these guys back and all these guys back at the same time. Of course, the way things have worked out is the injuries have not stopped, and that's a problem because every time you get somebody back, it seems like somebody else is going down with an injury. But if they can get themselves some health for a decent amount of time, and that can coincide with people playing up to their potential, which is another thing that they haven't been able to do until lately, then of course they can win the AL Central. The AL Central is a very bad division. The AL Central is currently being led by the Minnesota Twins, who, despite leading a very bad division, have not run away with things at all. Right. So, yes, they can win the division. It's a matter of finding out whether they will or not. But I think the idea is, the question is it doom and gloom? Is the season lost? No, not by a long shot.
Yeah, I don't honestly, even if, Eloy, TA, Yaz, and Hendricks don't come back, I still think this team, as constructed right now, could win the AL Central.
Certainly with the pitching. Certainly the pitching's been good.
Yeah, it's going to be a real, July 4th to the 17th, right before the All-Star break, is going to be a real, on July 18th, you'll have a good understanding where the White Sox are in the AL Central. They have, 16 straight games against AL Central opponents. They can make up a ton of ground in that run there. So if they have a good stretch there, they might be leaders of the pack by the All-Star break. I mean, it could be, that soon because the AL Central is that bad.
They might be a Shangri-La's style leader of the pack.
No. Shangri-La as in the Mother Love Bone track?
No, Shangri-La's, the 60s girl group. Leader of the pack. You're not familiar with that one?
No, I'm sorry.
Hey, that's on your homework.
Did they have flower guitars?
No, they didn't play.
Oh.
They sang.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to them. Other Sean makes a great point. Sox don't have a lot to deal right now. If they only deal, it makes the farm look worse, which is absolutely true. I was going to tailor into his next question, so you could leave it up, Steven. But yeah, I think the proposed trade for Jazz Chisholm was Garrett Crochet, Yolbert Sanchez, and Colson Montgomery. So the most ready option outside of Gavin Sheets to come up
has Tommy John.
Has Tommy John and
Right.
is your best left-handed reliever in the organization.
Correct.
And your number one prospect.
Correct.
It just seems stupid. Or just way too much because the 3-for-1 at that point just seems too overmatched.
I mean, here's the thing. People aren't going to like to hear this, but remember what Rick Hahn always says. The rebuild was not to produce a one-year team.
Right.
The rebuild was to produce a forever good team. You can't do that if all your prospects are gone. Currently, most of the White Sox prospects are gone because they're all playing on the major league team. So they need to spend some time really restocking things. Montgomery looks like a good one. For now, Wes Kath looks like a good one. Mm-hmm. There are some other guys who definitely fit into that category. But we'll see. Obviously, if you go back to 2018, let's say, take the top 10 prospects list, I'm sure there are some hits on there, and I'm sure there are some big misses on there, too.
Yeah, and the bot is back, baby. We love the bot. Sox offense really needs to be alive and ready to score by a majority when Houston and Toronto come into town. Makes July a lot easier for Sox fans to watch. Even if they have a bad 6 games, again, the important stuff will be against the AL Central, and you saw how good those last 3 games were against the Tigers. It's just about creating some consistency and some momentum here. Obviously, having bad series against Houston and Toronto will kill that momentum, but I think it could easily be restarted once you see the AL Central. All right, let's go back to other Sean because he has when Eloy comes back, will they use the injury to push him towards DH role this season? Does AJ only playing left field indicate this? Do you have any thoughts?
I think there's this. I think the White Sox would like to be able to move Eloy around a little bit more. I think they would like to be able to keep him off his feet and off of his legs by having him DH. I think that they see that as a positive for him from a health standpoint. You know what I mean? We're not even talking about whether he's good or bad at defense right now. We're just talking about him being able to play as much as possible coming off the injury that he's coming off of. That being said, and they'll bring this up, Eloy Jimenez hates to DH. He feels so strongly about that, and I think you could see it in his play. He hits worse when he's not playing left field. And so you have to put Eloy Jimenez in the best position to succeed. And why do you have Eloy Jimenez? To hit a hell of a lot of home runs. If playing left field is going to make him hit more home runs or make him more likely to hit a lot of home runs, you play him in left field. Right. You deal with any of the defensive issues that come along with that. Now, if he goes out, plays left field, and hurts himself again, that's a big problem. And there is some major rethinking that needs to be done. You could argue it already needed to be done, not on the White Sox end, but on his end, right? But he's the player. He's the guy stepping up to the plate. And if you want ultimate Silver Slugger level Eloy Jimenez and playing him in left field is the way to get that guy, you play him in left field.
Well, and I remember making this comp just because I saw the prospect list, and Eloy was like top 4, I think, in 2017 or something like that. And Yordan Alvarez, who we're going to see in Houston, was like 44th. And now you see where Alvarez is. He's this destroyer of worlds at the plate, and he's an all-time DH. And it's like, oh, the Astros put him in that spot, and he's crushed. But it's not, like you're saying, it's not just put him in that spot, make him learn how to hit.
It's not a video game, right?
He won't be happy in that spot. So,
and it's not pouting. It's very much a skill to be able to DH. And I think a good example is look at Jose Abreu. For the longest time, we heard from Jose Abreu, he hated to DH. He didn't want to do it. He didn't like it. He has learned to do it more, whether the White Sox just told him this is what you have to do, or whether it's Jose Abreu doing that thing that he does and works his ass off every single day to make sure that he could be good at it. there it is. Andrew Vaughn, he has that skill. He can do it.
Right.
He can not only do that, he can move around the field too. He does not seem to be bothered by anything when he goes to an at-bat. Other players don't have that skill. They need to go out into the field and put the at-bat behind them and be constantly active to make sure that they're ready to go the next time they have to hit. A lot of guys say it's really hard, and they've got to go in there. I think Jake Berger, we were talking to, he has to go into the batting cage behind, inside the clubhouse or inside the dugout, and have the assistant hitting coach, Howie Clark, simulate game situations to him.
Really?
Like he's gonna. This is all happening during the game. He goes back there and he's like, all right, Howie's gonna throw me, a whatever count, a 2-strike count or whatever. He's gonna throw me some changeups, but I'm looking fastball. So he's gonna throw me changeups. Then he's gonna throw me fastballs, and I'm practicing a situation where I need to be hunting fastballs. Their mind and their body needs to be constantly going. And when you saw Jose Abreu, who was DHing yesterday, sitting in his little tent in the dugout there in Detroit.
Steven to bring up the picture.
Sitting in his little tent in the dugout there in Detroit, that is a skill that you don't have to be constantly engaged in order to go out and then have success in your plate appearances.
Well, and two, I think that part of the idea of bringing up the picture too, it's just like he's trying to keep himself entertained and engaged. You know,
a little bit. You're not wrong.
Jake Berger, I think, is doing that because it's like, oh man, if I don't have a good season or something like that, I'll be back down to AAA. Where Jose Abreu is like, man, Tony could have played me at first base, but now I gotta do this. And yeah, here's Jose Abreu relaxing, just giving himself something to do.
We had some comments. I think yesterday in the post game that were now they need to build the tent every game. Like it's a superstition thing. Certainly Tony would be on board with that. Tony's a big superstition guy. But I will say this. I should have mentioned it yesterday. I didn't mention it. Those dugouts in Detroit are gigantic.
They look big.
They're huge. And there's no way that tent is going to fit in the dugout on the south side. There's no way it's going to fit in the dugout in Houston. Those Detroit dugouts are freaks of nature. Or the opposite of nature, freaks of construction.
Mankind.
They are very, very wide. They have room for construction projects and camping setups
and cabanas. Very fun. Thank you guys for your mailbag questions at allchgo.com. If you want to become a member and get access to our members only Discord, we do appreciate that. And I think there was another question up there or another comment, but the bots are blocking it on our screen. My bad, Steven. Nope, just missed it. Anyways, let's go preview the Astros and the White Sox series. We'll go through the probable pitchers and talk a little bit about the Astros. The team last year that knocked out the White Sox out of the playoffs, it obviously is in their mind. It's my mind. On Friday, June 17th, the White Sox will be facing off in Houston against the Astros. Astros are 39-24. White Sox are 30-31. Lucas Giolito will be on the bump for the White Sox. Framber Valdez will be on the bump for the Astros. He has a 2.64 ERA, but he is a left-handed pitcher. On June 18th, Saturday, it will be Johnny Cueto for the Chicago White Sox versus Justin Verlander. Have you heard of him?
Justin Verlander again.
That guy. And then on June 19th, it's TBD. It could be Michael Kopech. It's the expectation that I at least have, and that's the expectation that the White Sox are giving us, that Michael Kopech should start that game on Sunday versus the Astros, and Christian Javier will be the pitcher for the Astros.
Two first names.
Yes, Christian Javier Christian. 3.20 ERA for him. He's a right-hander, and that will be on ESPN. Do you get excited for ESPN games?
No.
The Sunday night games?
I prefer day games.
Okay. You like your nights to yourself. You like early podcasts.
I like to go home and have dinner and hang out. I mean, come on. Who doesn't like that?
Vinny is not having your ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. But interesting matchup, obviously. What pitching matchup or what player are you looking out for this series, whether it be the offensive side or pitching side?
Lucas Giolito, because he's got to get back on track. I believe the last 5 starts, he's got an ERA of almost 7 or something like that. He is not, he's had some tough results lately. And usually Lucas Giolito is really good at pitching against really good teams. He struggled in Toronto. He needs to get back on track against a really good team in Houston. You mentioned the 2018 game when he did it, or excuse me, the 2019 game when he went down there and threw the complete game shutout while I was sitting at a bar in Florida and watching it. And then also last year against these same Astros at home, he had a phenomenal game. I believe also a shutout. Am I wrong? Am I mistaken in remembering that? Misremembering that perhaps? But He gets up usually for games against good teams. You'd like to see him do it because guess what? They always say momentum is the next day's starting pitcher. Well, the White Sox have some momentum right now, and they've got the next day's starting pitcher in Lucas Giolito, their ace. He really needs to keep the good vibes going from Detroit to make sure that the White Sox can do something other than just have 3 good games against a terrible team.
You're slipping, Vinny. It was a complete game, 3 hits, but he allowed a home run. So it was a complete game, but not a shutout. So, but very good. July 17th, they won that one 10-1, and Jake Odorizzi made the start for the Astros on that one. Who hit the home run for the Abraham Toro, who's not even on the team anymore, who was traded for Kendall Graveman.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Isn't that fun? And then Kendall Graveman, obviously an Astro. Let's go to the one thing I want to talk about, though, Michael Kopech. So if he doesn't pitch, we talked about this, Lance Lynn will be on enough rest to go on Sunday.
So, yeah.
So the idea of Lance Lynn pitching against the Astros makes my stomach sick. I know you're like, whatever.
He's a great pitcher. He's got to be able to beat great teams. I don't think you can. You can't hide him. You can't hide him from a team that you might face in the playoffs again. You know what I mean? This is a guy who every time out you should expect to put your team in a position to win. He more oftentimes than not, the vast overwhelming majority of the time, he does that. There's no oh no, there's the other there's the H on the hat in the star. Send Lance Lynn back to Chicago because he can't beat him. No, he's got to be able to beat him. So you keep throwing him out there until he can get the job done, because in a playoff series, you're not going to be able to skip him because of the team you're playing.
That's true, and I would not.
Nor would you want to.
Right, you would not want to. Game 1 last year, 3 2/3, 6 hits allowed, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. But looking at his numbers since he's gone to Texas, down and played with the Rangers in 2019, he has only 1 game where he has not allowed 3 earned runs versus the Astros. Now, 7 innings and 3 earned runs isn't bad. 7 innings, no earned runs isn't bad. But since then, 7 innings, 4 earned runs, 7 innings, 4 earned runs, 6 innings, 6 earned runs, 5 2/3, 9 earned runs, 4 innings, 6 earned runs. So it's just been bad of late.
Plus the playoff game.
And plus the playoff game. So it's just been real bad in the last 5 starts. But hey, if it's Michael Kopech, we've seen that teams who haven't seen Michael Kopech, especially starting pitching Michael Kopech, and if he's fully healthy, I mean, oh boy. He just baffles people with his fastball. So I would be very interesting to see him. And Giolito, too, interested to see. Josh Nelson mentioned this. Max Fried just won the World Series with the Braves, pitched in Houston and did really well against Houston. And Lucas was there and said, hey, why can't I do that? And obviously we saw him pitch against the playoffs, and they were high school teammates. Ethan Katz was the coach of both. Jack Flaherty, now I'm blanking, Max Fried and Lucas Giolito. I like that idea and that mindset from Lucas, and especially now too, you just talked about, he's coming off some bad starts, so it's now you're getting Giolito, who is motivated by his high school teammates' success and wants to prove that, hey, he's not, as bad as he's been in his last outings. And it's the Astros.
Yeah, and listen, I don't think that we should pretend like Lucas just realized this watching the World Series. He's a guy who has had that attitude for a long time now. Like we just mentioned, he seems to get up for the big games, for the big opponents, and there's no outing of his. Even the no-hitter, there's no outing of his that I'm going to remember more than what he did against the Oakland A's in that playoff game in 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the stare that he had in that game, too. It was just
bully stage. That's what TA named it.
It's a great name. He's going to be a great copywriter one day, Tim Anderson. But I want to talk a little bit about the Houston matchup. So I'm not too worried about the left-handed pitching, on Friday for Houston. I know that it's not Javier. Valdez did well against the White Sox in the postseason, but the White Sox have just been killing left-handed pitching so far this year. They've been red hot. I think that they should do well on Friday. But Saturday, it is a big matchup. It's a right-handed pitcher. He's seen the White Sox a ton through his career. He currently leads the AL in wins, in innings pitched, and whip. It is the 39-year-old Justin Verlander.
Who could have seen this coming?
Who? Steven, who? At Vinnie Duber. There you go. At Vinnie Duber saw it coming. It's intimidating. It's Justin Verlander. It's one of the best, if not the best, right-handed pitcher in the American League they have to face up. It's a big matchup on Saturday.
Yeah. I'd be worried if I were the White Sox. That's not really how professional athletes think, but yeah, they probably shouldn't be expecting to score a lot of runs, and that's why you're going to need another good performance out of Johnny Cueto. But of course, Johnny Cueto has done that for them. I mean, they shouldn't feel like they are overmatched in that game, because not only are they hitting the ball well right now, like you said, but they've got a guy going to the mound who always seems to put them in a position to win, even a low-scoring game. So Cueto, there'll be probably a lot of, not pressure, but a lot of, onus on him to keep them close in that game on Saturday, because I don't see them going out and raking against Justin Verlander. But they have these kinds of games all the time. The White Sox beat up on Robbie Ray early in the season. Kevin Gausman, they were able to score some runs against in Toronto. Even Alek Manoah, they got to a tad there in Toronto. So it's not out of the question for them to have a good game against a good pitcher. And certainly even the guys who win the Cy Youngs have some clunkers every single season. So it's just going to be interesting to see if this is one of those bad days, or if Justin Verlander just keeps being the Hall of Famer Justin Verlander that he is.
And Javier is an interesting matchup too. White Sox saw him in Game 3, the famous Game 3, where the White Sox won that game. But Christian Javier was fantastic. 2 2/3 in that game, no earned runs, struck out 6.
He was fantastic. Why didn't he pitch more?
Well, because he was
because it was the playoffs. That's why
reliever too. He was a guy. Most pitches he threw that postseason was in that game, 56 pitches. So, but now he's a starter. So that's the big thing. Blank Name has a good question. I've been meaning to ask this to you, just because we did see this was an interesting storyline at the start of spring training. Gio has to find his velocity. When he's at his peak, he's sitting 94 to 96 with the fastball and peaking at 97. I don't think he's thrown one pitch at 97 this year. So far, his average velocity has gone down since 2020. It was around 93.5, then 93.2 last year. It's at 93.1 this year. We saw him add 25 pounds of muscle.
It's at XRT this year? WXRT?
Oh. 93.1?
93.1? Yeah.
I didn't realize it. It's the finest rock.
Chicago's finest rock.
It's the finest, everybody. But we saw him add 25 pounds of muscle and looking to have velocity. We haven't seen it so far through this year. Has there been any mention or talk about that since he added that muscle?
I mean, I would just say this. It certainly, it's something that you'd like to see, because you throw really fast. It's harder for guys to hit it. Obviously that makes total sense. In terms of it being worrying, one point in favor of maybe it isn't worrying is maybe this is a guy who's learning to pitch differently. Pitchers evolve as they go on, and just because he's not throwing the fastball as fast as he has in the past doesn't mean that he's necessarily not doing what he's trying to do. We saw it last year with Garrett Crochet, right? Because he came up in 2020. Everybody assumed, that guy's going to throw 101 for the next 10 years. That'll be fantastic. But part of him becoming a pitcher more than just a thrower involved that velocity going down. When asked about it, he said, I don't care if the velocity comes back. I'm trying to do different things. I'm still succeeding at what I'm trying to do. Perhaps Giolito is in the same boat, but a very good point, and perhaps something that should be asked of him, because he's somebody who's had great success by throwing the ball really hard in his career.
Well, and something too, it's interesting just to watch players pitch with rule changes as well. JJ mentions Gio's stuff is terrible this year. Since 2020, his fastball spin rate 2,349 RPMs, in 2021, 2,345 RPMs, and this year 2,154 RPMs. This was just the talk that, Spider Tack and stuff like that added about 200 RPMs to his stuff. So I don't know if he is a guy who is dealing with the fallout of those rules, but it definitely seems like there's been a dip in his velocity and his spin. It's interesting just to see how these guys are adapting to stuff, and I don't know if he's necessarily adapting. It could just be different ways to pitch, like you're saying. Maybe it's just something him and Ethan Katz have been working on, and I know he's working on that slider more, trying to get that into usage. So maybe it's part of the process of learning how to throw that pitch better to throw your other pitches better. And if you have 3 pitches that are great, it's better than having 2 pitches that are great and a slider that you can barely use. But interesting to watch what he'll do on Friday, and that's Vinny's player to watch on Friday and this series. So we will join you on Sunday. We will have a pregame. We got to end this before more bots come in here. We'll have a pregame for you. Oh no, wait, there's one more question. One more question from the clubhouse, from the music in the clubhouse. I wanted to ask you this one. This was a better, hey, let's go into the weekend. Dan from the 219 said, mailbag question, best/favorite music played in the clubhouse after a win.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
None of the music they play after a win do I like or care for at all.
Can you even tell who it is?
No, it's usually rapping.
There you go. All right. So none of the above. They should listen to more Chicago, more Saturday in the Park.
If they played 25 or 6-4 after a win, that clubhouse would be going nuts. That would be a true club dub type situation, I have a feeling.
You can follow Vinnie Duber at Vinnie Duber, Vinnie Dub, Vinnie Dub, all right, Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter.
Club Dube does not have the same ring to it. I've got to be honest.
He's a CHGO White Sox beat writer, and you can go read his latest article on Danny Mendick and what the White Sox to do with the second base position once Tim Anderson comes back. You could follow the account, the CHGO White Sox account on Twitter at CHG_White Sox. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Shout out to Herb Lawrence. He will be back with us on Sunday. Again, it is a Sunday night game. Pre-game starts at 5:30. We will be tweeting out our schedule as well on Sunday, so you know when we'll be live all throughout next week. And next week is the CHGO Tailgate, June 22nd, 11:30, Lot B. Go to allchgo.com. You can get tickets there, $25. Gets you into the game and gets you hanging out with us at the tailgate. But that's going to do it. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Dan, Blank Name, Rusted, all you guys, Edgar, Virtual Stealth. We appreciate you guys hanging out and giving us your Sox thoughts. We will see you on Sunday. And thank you to Fleetwood Mac for their 1979 album, Tusk. That is what the White Sox should play after every victory. For Vinnie Duber, I'm Sean Anderson. Thank you, Stephen Nicholas. Goodbye.